We're here with Alpine in a very, very impressive little city section you have going here. And this is really cool. I've never used Distant Horizons before, and this is that is wild how far you can
It
see.
is, yeah, it is pretty cool, eh?
It is
It's
really,
about,
really cool. Yeah.
yeah, this entire map is about 10,000 by 10,000 blocks. But yeah, if you zoom in way on the mountains down there, they go for quite a while.
Yeah, they're complete. I mean, my render distance is as far as it can go, and they are out of my sight, which is this is so cool. This is so cool. So we are here to talk about architecture. Now, are you like an architect or architect student outside of Minecraft, or is this just a hobby inside of Minecraft for you?
So I have an undergrad that I graduated from about 2 years ago in architectural engineering. It's not quite the same as architecture. It's definitely an engineering degree. It's mostly focusing on like high performance buildings, structural engineering, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I now work as an airport planner.
Oh, that's cool. So like in terms of airport construction or like optimizing already built airports.
A little bit of both. So basically, what our team does is we do long-term infrastructure planning. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different teams at the airports. Like you have operations on the air side, terminal, ground side, all that sort of stuff. And anytime that anything needs to happen on like a very large scale, it typically goes through the planning team.
Civil engineering just in general and large scale engineering projects like that are very daunting to me. Even the thought of like building a highway, like the amount of planning that goes into just building a road, a really long distance. It must be, I mean, you have a team, so it's probably a lot easier, but is it ever just overwhelming? Like there's so many things we have to take into account before we can even start work.
Oh, there's definitely a lot of things, but it's never really overwhelming. Like my company has, they're very good about work-life balance, and they say, yeah, if it's 5 o'clock, go home, unless there's something that really, really, really needs to get done. But basically, the way we look at it is, if we have a project that we are planning out, and if there's not enough time, we're either going to extend the deadline or before that project had even started, we need to figure out that timeline and if it's actually reasonable. So at the end of the day, the timeline is on us.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's nice to have that much control over it.
Mhm.
So some of the other people that I've talked to, like Taco Squad, who's an architecture student, one of the things that we spoke about was the difference between architecture and engineering in that side, where there tends to be like it's a symbiotic relationship, but there tends to be a little bit of clashing between architects, this is what I want to build, and engineers being like, okay, well, that's not possible. We have to work within our realm of possibilities. Do you Is your degree kind of based on like being a bridge between those two things, or do you specifically like you are the engineer and architect would talk to?
You absolutely got all of that 100% correct. The entire purpose of an undergrad in architectural engineering is to bridge the gap between architects and civil engineers. Because, yeah, absolutely. Architects, some of them will say, I want to build this really, really cool structure. Go to the engineer and they say, no, we're not doing that. So, an architectural engineer, we're right in the middle. So, we understand the technical side of architecture and the building side of civil engineering.
Nice. Well, that's a very useful job that you have there.
Mhm.
So, how did you get into Minecraft?
So I started back in middle school. So I'm 25 now. I started playing when I think I was 12. I might have been 13, but I was in the library in my middle school during lunch, and I saw one of my friends. He was playing some game on a computer, and I looked over, and I'm like, I don't know what game that is. So I went over and I talked to him, and turns out it was called Minecraft, and he was just going around doing some, I forget what he was doing, but I knew pretty quick that I had to try this game. So I saved up for an iPod Touch, and about, well, I don't know how long later, but I ended up getting an iPod Touch, playing Pocket Edition for a number of years, switched over to Java, and playing around on the multiplayer servers, and started building cities. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Oh, nice. So this probably had, I'm assuming, something to do with your interest in going into architecture.
Oh yeah, I think it honestly might be the only reason.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really cool. I'm always surprised too by how many people started on Pocket Edition. So, in this city in particular, is this something that you've created from scratch, or is this based off of an actual city?
So this is based off East Village, New York.
Okay.
I was there in November of 2023, and I just stayed in East Village for 5 days. Not all of these builds are mine. This church was built by one of my friends, Josh and Swanky. But a lot of these other buildings are templates that I've built. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Like this church is pretty incredible. I originally made it very simply. I'll see if I can find some pictures and send them to you afterwards. But they decided to do a renovation with my permission, and they made it probably about 100 times better.
This is a really, really nice little chapel. I think this was the first thing I saw when I logged in. I think you have it. There's like some little area off in the distance with just a couple buildings put in. And
Oh yeah,
I was checking this one out. This is really, really well done. It's cool to see brick
nice.
too. I feel like brick is fairly underutilized.
Yeah, like for me, like I play on cubed, which is on 1.14.4. So making the jump to 1.21, there's so many new blocks, and changing from cube pack to default, brick is pretty much the only block that I know. So any of these new blocks, I'm still getting used to.
What is Cube?
Cubed is a creative server. We also have a Discord, but we design a whole bunch of different cities. Maybe some of your audience is familiar with the city of Andia. There's also the city of Everton, Oasia, and there's a handful of others as well. But we build in Cube Pack, which is a 128 texture pack. And we figured out over the years that we can use biomes and slowly starting to integrate models as these newer updates come out. Um, but yeah, we mainly focus on cities, but there is a lot of really cool architecture on the server.
That's cool. Is it purely a building server? Or is it in survival or creative?
Yeah, so it is in creative. The intention of this map actually is to be put on cubed once we upgrade to a newer version. We do have Rainy, who made the terrain. He's also working on a mod for Cube Pack so that we can not mess up all of our worlds when we transfer it to the new version, since it is dependent on biomes.
Mhm.
Bit of technicalities there with Mojang and their biomes and their upgrades, but yeah, this city is going to be on cubed, so it's going to be quite fun.
Nice. That's cool. Have you ever worked with Build the Earth?
I have. I've been on their server a couple times. I've tried to build one thing. It did not turn out very well, but I have talked to decent. Yes.
Okay, cool. Nice. So do you consider yourself more of a planner or more of a builder? Like do you really look at this like, hey, I'm going to measure this, I'm going to get all the dimensions, I'm going to work on it like an engineer? Or do you feel this is more of a creative thing for you where you can go in and experiment a little bit when building buildings?
Well, I definitely love to experiment, but really the big reason why I got into city planning in Minecraft is when you make some buildings, like if we take a look at these ones and you wanted to make these 6 buildings right here, you could go ahead and do that in a flat world, which I initially did. But after you want to continue to expand, like you maybe want to turn this into an entire city block, now you have to start to think about roads and how you connect it. So maybe you'll start building roads. And I find that, well, at least when I was starting to build cities, that was quite tough to get the dimensions and to make it look somewhat realistic. The planning sort of stemmed from me wanting to expand my buildings and having a place for me to put my buildings. So that's where it sort of came from.
Okay, that's an interesting way to end up with a city. Is just a place to hold your buildings.
Exactly. Yeah.
What scale do you build at? Is this all roughly 1-to-1?
So I try to make it a little bit larger than 1-to-1. I try to build closer to 1.5-to-1. But I'm not sure if you're familiar with how Disney World uses forced perspective.
I
It's
am,
like
yes.
smaller in the ground floor.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I try to do something somewhat similar, not in all of the builds, but when I start to build, I don't think I have any builds in this city yet, but I try to make the ground floors a little bit larger so that when you're walking around, I don't know, it's just a little more easier to detail. And then once you start to build up, you can start to compress the floors a little bit. So then you get it to be a lot. Well, it looks a lot taller than it actually is. However, in this world, since I'm used to building on 1.14.4 with that 256 height limit, now that I'm on this world, I can build way taller. So I might not have to do that anymore.
Okay, so you were using that to kind of compromise for the build height being different.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what is these look like villager villages? Did you just kind of put this in here for fun?
Yeah, so this city actually started in a flat world on Cubed community on 1.14.4. So you'll notice that these village buildings, they do look a little bit dated. It was just in the flat world. And then I started to build the other buildings around it. And I was deciding whether I wanted to gentrify this village and evict all the villagers, get them out of here, or if I just wanted to maybe keep it for a little something like this. So I don't know. I think it's more of like a national historic park, I guess. But
Yeah, it's a little
the
historic district in the middle.
exactly, yeah. But on top of this church up here, this is where I'm planning to put the spawn. Where you spawn right here. I needed to change these signs; these are quite old. But there's also a chest where you can take or leave a custom item, just to let the free market do its thing. But you'll spawn in this village, and initially you'll be surrounded by all these trees, and you'll think, okay, well, these aren't default trees. Like you might notice that immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to wander around, unless you have distant horizons, in which case you can just see everything already. But you go all the way down, and you think, okay, I'm still in a village. This is interesting. I thought this was a city. What's happening? And then you go outside, and you think, okay, well, this is not a normal village. Somebody's obviously built here. And then you slowly start to wander out. And then through the trees, you start to see these buildings. And then you slowly realize, oh, I'm in a city.
That's really cool. That's a really cool way to frame that. I also love just keeping this in the middle. I think that's really cool. Just contrast of having the Minecraft area and then going out into the real area. Did you do all these trees too?
So these trees, if you look at these ones up here with the levers, these were built by my friend Jay. And you will also see some other trees that are quite a bit more simple, like this one over here. This one was built by me.
Okay, that's still a really good tree.
Oh, thanks. A little bit of world edit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Do you use a lot of plugins or mods? Like use World Edit? Do you use Axiom at all?
I have tried Axiom on the server. It stopped working for me about a week in, and I couldn't figure out why, so I stopped using it.
Oh, okay. Are you? If you didn't know, you do have to request a whitelist every month. If you're
okay, that's definitely why. Then
that's probably what it was. Yeah,
I'll look into that.
Did you enjoy it, or was it was kind of a too much to learn and then it was gone?
It was pretty cool. I really liked how you could go into that like orbit perspective. That was pretty cool. I really liked that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been using World Edit for, I'd say, pretty well close to 10 years. So I'm very, very used to it at this point. But I would not be opposed to learning Axiom because I heard it has quite a bit of benefits.
It is fantastic. I really like it. There are some things that I do appreciate World Edit for more. But yeah, Axiom is really nice. How
for World Edit, what do you appreciate about World Edit compared to Axiom?
I appreciate its function along with other mods, things like easy edits. I like that I can customize the selections a little bit easier in World Edit, and there's not really anything that you can do in World Edit that you can't do in Axiom, as far as I know. I'm not amazing at either of them. But being able to use it in conjunction with other plugins is really nice. That's really good. And I think there might be a way to do that with Axiom, but I just use World Edit. It's not something that I've really figured out how to do if it is there.
Fair enough. Yeah. With Axiom, do you need a mod side client as well?
You do, yes. So even if it's on a server, you can pay to have it whitelisted on the server. But you do, as far as I know, you do still need it client side.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah. It's really interesting. So when you're building these, how often do you find yourself, since you're using World Edit so much, how often do you find yourself placing blocks by hand, or are you almost entirely using commands and stuff like that?
So I try to build by hand as much as I can. So if I were to build this building right here, what I would do is I would build the ground floor by hand. Well, first I would start off by sizing it, getting the size of your floors and then your ceilings above, and actually how much space is in between, just to make sure it's consistent. But I would build this ground floor by hand. I would build this second floor by hand. And basically the way that I designed these buildings, you'll notice that floors 2 through, well, I guess n-1 up at the top. So until this one up here, they are identical. So basically you can just build your second floor. You can stack your building to be as tall or short as you want. And then you can design the top up here. So basically what I did with all these buildings, you'll notice even if you fly up further, I have not changed the roofs very much. So they are quite identical. So all of these buildings are templates. And the reason I like doing this is you can change little details either for the cornices up on the top. You can change the facade materials, and now you have a completely new building.
And I guess that's not too different from how they do it in real life too. I mean, I feel like a lot of, especially apartment buildings, are very basic structures, and then they essentially decorate the outsides differently.
Absolutely. It's sort of like prefab, but in Minecraft.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, having the templates all saved, and then you just kind of decorate them separately. So, how much do you find yourself thinking about the things that you use daily in your job with architecture in Minecraft? Do you feel like it's just second nature, so it's just a language that you know? Or do you feel like you really use it as a problem solving tool when you're working on a building and you run into an issue?
So Minecraft, I don't really use too much in my job. I've tried to find different ways that I could possibly use it. Like if we're taking a look at a hold room for a gate, and we're trying to reorganize it. I've thought about potentially building it in Minecraft, but every time, especially because I mean, planning's at a very, very high level. Like we don't really do detailed design. We get consultants or somebody else to do that. Um, so I haven't really found a use for Minecraft in that planning aspects. But yeah, I typically keep Minecraft, keep it separate.
So, and that was my next question. Does this feel like, do you think about work while you're playing Minecraft, or does this feel like a break from it?
No, it definitely feels like a break. If I did decide to build an airport, then yes, it would definitely start to feel like work.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I did start one a while ago, but I didn't get too far. Oh, it's raining now. Yeah, if I ever decide to build an airport in this city, which honestly I think I might, I'm going to try to make it the most hardcore airport that Minecraft has ever seen, and using everything that I know about airport planning. One thing I actually do have to be careful of is not violating my non-disclosure agreement with the airport, as to not give too much detail for this airport that I will eventually building mine.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So
Yeah.
you'd be basing it off of a real airport you're working on, or are there specific aspects of an airport that only like the engineers and architects are supposed to know about?
I'd probably base it off the principles of how to plan an airport, but for a lot of the elements of the airport that I work at, there's specific ways that we go about planning certain things, like certain numbers for estimates of certain things. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, and even if I could, I don't know if I could share them. But um, yeah, I have to be careful not to give too much detail, especially when it comes to like how floor plans are laid out, because obviously you don't want that on the internet.
That makes sense. That's a good
Yeah.
point. That makes me very curious. Nothing makes me want to know something more than being told that I'm not allowed to know it.
So we have some buildings down here if you want to check it out. There's a fully furnished school down here too that I work on.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was going to ask you if you do interiors.
So my philosophy with interiors is if you're walking around the city as a player, like if you were in survival right now, maybe you were playing this map as like a Hunger Games map, and you were running around and you see an open door. You should be able to walk in this door and see this furnished interior. But for example, if you were looking at an apartment building, publicly, you wouldn't be able to get up into the apartments, but you might be able to get into the lobby. So I decorate the lobbies and anything that is publicly accessible. That's my idea. Although there's a lot of stuff that isn't furnished, but you get the picture. The idea with this map is to be able to use it for a bunch of different uses. So right now, obviously, it is meant as a creative server that you can come on and build a whole bunch of cool stuff. But I would like to be able to host Hunger Games, survival games, maybe some adventure maps on here. So if you get caught in this school and somebody's chasing you and you're like, oh no, I have to go up to the roof to escape, you can run all the way up here. And if you know about this secret, you can go off of here, land in this truck.
Oh, nice. I did not land in the truck. I would have died, but that's really cool.
It's a bit of a
That's
risk.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, let's see, what company is this? Chewy's Aged Meats.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Oh, and this
that's
is
really
Crowbar
funny.
the class fish. He just ended up here.
Yeah. Someone threw him in there. He ran away, had to go to the fish store.
Exactly.
So I'm very curious to get your opinion on this as somebody who's more on the engineering side of architecture. I
Mhm.
would certainly consider architecture an art. I definitely think that it can be an art. I definitely think it can be purely industrial and utilitarian. Do you view engineering in the same way? Do you feel like there's an art to engineering and that style of thinking?
Yeah, like I mean, engineering, it's obviously based in science, math, physics, chemistry. So there's very, very clear defined rules. Um, but there are definitely ways to find creative solutions for things. So I guess in my line of work, so I don't have to sign off on drawings. I don't have to do any of that. Like we have our own engineering department. Planning is completely separate. But yeah, you definitely have to find some creative solutions.
Do you find that that way of thinking translate into purely creative things like when you're working in Minecraft? Do you feel like you have gained something from that procedural, concrete way of thinking assigned to engineering?
Oh, absolutely. So if we want to go over this way, I'll show you a building. This building that we're going to go check out, this is one based in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is where I live. It's based in Olympic Village, and it is quite cool. With this building, a lot of the problem solving that I had to do around this design, there are probably 6 staircases, I believe, inside of it. And with these staircases, so these are known as shear walls. Let me see. Okay, so there's one in this corner, and then it repeats on the other side as well. But there are also 2 more right down here. But underneath the central section, there are 2 other staircases. Now, according to the Canadian Building Code, you do have to have some of your staircases exit directly outside, which would be this door here, which I have blocked off. So what you have to be careful of, especially when it comes to all the geometry of your building, you have to make sure that all your staircases connect to where you want them to connect to. So in this case, this one goes all the way up to the top. So it's honestly sort of a puzzle that's bounded by what the engineering standards are for building design.
Okay, so it's a little bit almost like plumbing, where it's you have a goal. You're like, hey, I have to get from point A to point B, but it has to work with what I'm provided with in terms of the structure, and you have to find a creative
Exactly.
way to bring it up. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And we do the same thing at the airport too when we're planning. So, for example, if we needed for some reason to reroute passengers, that's where I find there's a lot of overlap between Minecraft, especially building design like this, and airport planning. You have to figure out how to get arriving passengers, departing passengers, connecting passengers to and from where they need to be.
Do you enjoy that aspect of your work, or does it feel like a challenge? Or do you? I mean, I guess do you enjoy that challenge of that work?
I definitely enjoy that challenge. Honestly, I think trying to find new routes for passengers when we have to change things around in the terminal is probably one of my favorite parts because, yeah, no, it can be quite difficult. And the big challenge with that is we're trying to save as much money as possible. Well, sometimes there's obviously different priorities that we have to consider, but a lot of the time, well, most of the time, cost is the most important factor, depending on what that project is. But we have to consider that. So basically, if we can find an existing solution instead of building something new, that usually ends up being the preferred option. But it is quite challenging to find something that doesn't require a new build.
That makes sense. I mean, because if it didn't, it would probably already be in place.
Exactly.
That's a great view.
It is. We can explore the mountains up there too if you'd like. I have a little house that I started, but it's not much right now.
Yeah, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
Wow, this is amazing. This looks so cool.
Pretty beautiful, eh? This terrain is based on GIS, Geographical Information System data from Metro Vancouver, British Columbia. So this is the actual terrain. It's about at a 1 to 4 scale. And what's really cool is I put the city, the neighborhood of East Village or city of Sequoia, down where current day Burnaby, British Columbia is. And I recently got a studio in Vancouver dedicated to building Minecraft cities, which I still have to furnish. There's still a lot of stuff that I have to figure out how to do. But I'm planning to design my studio in Minecraft with the exact same view that I have out the window of the North Shore Mountains.
Oh,
It's going to be
that's
pretty
really
cool.
cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't get over how cool this is. I'm gonna end up just flying around in here for quite a while looking around. I like
It
this
is
house
pretty
too.
cool.
Love a good glass wall by a lake.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you very much for taking the time to do that. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you sharing so many details about your day job. That was really interesting. And now I'm going to wonder for the rest of my life what things about airport design I'm not allowed to know.
Top secret.
Top secret, can never know. So, a couple just like quick fire things, just in terms of Minecraft. One, if you could add any block, what would you add? Which I think will be fun for you since you're so used to working with all the blocks that are super old. You might already feel like you're overwhelmed with the amount of new blocks. But if you could add any blocks or even any functionality in Minecraft that we don't already have, what would it be?
Ooh, this might be an architecture nerd answer, but I would add mullions for skyscrapers. So you can have those vertical elements a lot easier. I know there's a lot of ways to do that, maybe with like end rods and maybe some glass panes, but probably some vertical mullions. That's what I would do.
What are mullions? I don't know what that is.
So mullions are the things on glass skyscrapers that basically you put between the panes of glass. So if you look very, very close, there's like these very thin metal strips. So that's what those are.
Okay. And do those have any structural benefit, or are those purely just to like cap off the edges of the glass?
Yeah, from what I understand, they're basically just to make sure the glass stays somewhat connected, but no, the structural system is separate.
Okay, so it's not like connected directly to the bones of it.
No, no, no. I don't know how to end a video. Every single one of my videos, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. See ya.
Dude, I do that when I do streams too, and I'll end up just saying like goodbye, like this is so great, thank you, like 8 times in a row, and I'm like, I need to just say like thanks guys, I'll see you later, and then end the stream.
I think it's fun to keep your audience on their toes.
Yeah, I'll always like hide announcements that I forget right after that, so the people that stick around for the 8 goodbyes, those are the people that really learn what's up. Yeah,
Exactly.
we'll just end it there. That's perfect. That was a great ending. I'm glad you spent some time talking with me. And I will.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really cool world. I'm very much looking forward to this being used for some sort of survival or like Hunger Games style game.
Oh yeah,
If you do that, hit me up. I would love to participate.
absolutely.
Do you have anything you want to plug, or anyone you want to thank, or anyone you want to plug? Anything you want to do? Floor is yours. Got all my viewers.
Hello, viewers. I'd like to thank the builders that have been helping me out. My two brothers, they've been helping me out as well. Josh, Swanky, they've been helping out with that church hiding behind me. There's going to be lots more people that are building in the city. I'd like to make it pretty collaborative. Still have to figure out ranks, stuff like that. But I make YouTube videos. My channel is my username. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone go check out Alpine's channel. It is linked in the description. Do you have a Patreon or anything?
I do not, but I do have a website, alpine1.co.
That's new. I don't know any other Minecraft with website. Good job. Okay, perfect. Well, that was awesome. Thanks, man.